thank you all for having me. So, my name's Pat Fernandes from Advice for Renters, and we're a small charity based in northwest London. Our primary remit is to support people living in private rented accommodation, helping them with legal and financial support, to tenants that are on legal aid and facing eviction, living in serious health-threatening repair. We also campaign relentlessly for much needed change to the housing system. So my particular project, Advice for Renters Money, supports people regardless of tenure across London. That's completely thrown me, sorry, I beg your pardon. So we support people across London, relentless of tenure, supporting individuals from financial resilience, subsistence to financial resilience. And we support community leaders to build financially resilient communities. So what do we actually do? So we have a team of community money mentors that will help people on a one-to-one basis to deal with their finances, help them to find the best deals, best switches, grants, schemes, anything that will put a little bit more money in their pockets. We run a number of community financial capability workshops, both for directly to individuals, but also to support organisations that may encounter individuals that are financially suffering as well. We have a welfare benefits advice team. We work with our partners to provide an employability training scheme as well. We have a team of energy advisors who will help you mitigate this terrible energy crisis that we find ourselves in the midst of with the price hikes.
Taking care of our customers is what matters most to us, because you're at the heart of everything we do. We understand that our services are your lifelines. And when it comes to managing your electricity, gas, and water, there are times when a little extra help can make all the difference to you. That's why electricity, gas, and water companies have come together to make the Priority Services Register even easier to use, giving you extra support when you need it most. It's completely free of charge and it's simple to sign up. So, is it actually for you? Well, the service is available if you rely on medical equipment, have refrigerated medicines, are living with a serious or chronic illness, have a disability, or have communication needs, are living with dementia, are of pensionable age, have children under 5 in the home, or need extra support for a short time due to life-changing events like bereavement. How will it help? We hope you never have to use a service, but if you do, we will provide you with the support to make your life safer and easier. It's always a good idea to register before emergencies come along to prevent any difficulties you weren't expecting and ensure you receive all the support available to you. Once you've signed up, you will be told about any work we may be doing nearby, which may interrupt your supply. We will get in touch and help you work out what to do to stay safe, giving you peace of mind. You will also receive priority support in an emergency situation, such as bottled water delivered to your door or alternative heating and cooking facilities. We can give you the information in different ways, including over the phone. We even have a password scheme to protect you from scammers, or you can give us permission to deal with someone else, such as a family member or carer. We are all helping to give you a little extra support and peace of mind, keeping those lifelines flowing, whatever the circumstances, whatever the weather. We're here to help you stay safe, warm, and independent in your own home. Think the Priority Services Register might be right for you or someone you care about? Find out more or register by contacting your electricity, gas, or water company.
So our energy advisors can help you If you're on a low income, they can help you mitigate those factors by helping you get signed up to the Warm Home Discount, which could give you £140 credit towards your utility bills. Or there's also Water Short and Water Help. So do pick up the phone, give us a call, check in with us by email. In your participant packs, for all of you lucky people that are here, you'll find giving you a little booklet that's got over 55 different tips to save electricity and to make your utilities more efficient. So these are all things that don't cost money, because I hate getting packs where if you insulate your walls, yes, it will save you money, but it will cost quite a bit as well. So those you'll find in your packs today. We also offer financial services through our partners, Hillingdon Credit Union, with Brent Mutual and with London Capital Unions, providing, well, hopefully encouraging people to save, but also offering loans at very competitive rates, especially for those who may not necessarily be able to access them from other sources.
Credit unions, big enough to cope, small enough to care. Becky is worried. School starts in 3 weeks and she hasn't got money for Jason's uniform. And it's his birthday next week. Her friend Carly tells her about her local credit union, which she joined a couple of years ago. She pays in her child benefit each month and saves a small amount. She's even had a couple of loans, and they don't charge the earth in interest. Credit unions are community banks. Members save with them, and the money is borrowed by other members. It's all regulated, so your money is fully protected, just as it would be in a high street bank. The staff are friendly and helpful, but they're all members too. This could be just what Becky needs, and joining is easier than you think. All you need is proof of your ID, like your passport or a letter from the DWP, plus a utility or council tax bill that's less than 3 months old. Thanks to their local credit union, Joan and Fred have spent the last 5 years seeing the world. Once upon a time, they didn't have savings and struggled to cope with unexpected bills. After years of relying on payday lenders, they finally discovered the credit union. Once they put enough by to cover minor emergencies, they took out a small loan for their first mini break abroad. They've also opened a junior savings account for their eldest grandchild, Mia. Like them, she saves a bit of her pocket money each week and puts it into her account. Great habits learned young. Joan and Fred are happy knowing they're looking after their family's future. Megan and Kyle just got the keys to their first home. Joining their local credit union was Meg's idea. They've been paying in whatever they could and now have saved enough to borrow money for a TV. They first saw the one they wanted in a pay weekly store. But when Kyle did the maths, they realised how much it would cost them in the long run. Enter the credit union with a great value loan that nearly halves the amount they pay. It's a no-brainer. Tom joined the credit union after getting into trouble with the loan shark. He needed to borrow £500 fast, and a fella down the pub said he could help. When Tom's work hours got cut and he couldn't meet repayments, that fella sent the heavies round. They followed him everywhere, and even threatened to kill his dog. Tom contacted the illegal money lending team, who explained that because the debt was illegal, he didn't owe any money. They prosecuted the loan shark, and Tom's debt was wiped. They also told him about the local credit union, which offers a safe way to save and borrow. Now things are looking up for Tom and his family. If your local credit union is just what you need, get in touch online, and remember, your money will be protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. If you or someone you know is involved with a loan shark, do what Tom did and call the Stop Loan Sharks 24-hour confidential hotline. They're waiting to help, and you don't have to leave your details if you don't want to. Tom would like to thank his local credit union and the England Illegal Money Lending Team. The team prosecutes loan sharks and puts them in jail. They also confiscate their ill-gotten gains and use them to pay for things like this video.
So that's a little film about credit unions and also about loan sharks. Now, if, like me, in your naivety, you thought that loan sharks were just something that happened on a council estate up north, you couldn't be more wrong. Quite often people don't even know that they're dealing with loan sharks. If you've borrowed money from somebody outside of your family and you have no paperwork, no contract, no knowledge of what interest rates you might be being charged, then that's illegal lending. We work very closely with the illegal money lending team to make sure that loan sharks aren't something that people have to deal with. They have an anonymous phone line. People often don't report them, even though they're being harassed and sometimes even threatened with violence because they think that they may be the ones that will be prosecuted. That's not so. So if you find yourself in a desperate, vulnerable situation such as that, then please do contact us. Again, we can help you. Advice for Renters Money. We also run community savers clubs. So I mentioned earlier that we support community leaders and their organisations as well. So we like to set up community savers clubs, which are like mini branches of credit unions, anywhere where people congregate, whether that's a church, a social club, a football team, a Zumba class, to encourage people to save at grassroots where they are. So again, pick up the phone and talk to us and we can help you with that. We also offer crisis support loans, for grants for people when they're at that point of absolute desperation. We work with our partners Acts 435 and support various other funds as well.
Acts 435. It's about giving to people directly to help them in a really practical way. Acts 435 has helped Sophie on low income, suddenly faced with the cost of car repairs so she can still get to work. Angeline, who's fled domestic violence and is starting from scratch. Jack, unable to pay his large gas bill after a very cold winter. The way it works is that a local church or charity advocate posts the specific need on the website. So Sophie needs £110 to get her car back on the road. One donor gives £5, another £30, another £10, until together we raise the money for the item. 100% of your gift will go directly to the person in need. There are no hidden costs. Be part of this opportunity to directly help someone in need. Acts 435, giving to anyone in need.
So as I say, Acts 435 is designed to help people that are in financial crisis with small grants. But putting my appeals hat on for just one moment, you're all looking very resplendent down here doing your Christmas shopping, but if you're looking for that gift to give somebody that's got everything or just for a worthy gift for a worthy cause, then please consider making a donation to Acts 435. A small gift can make a big difference. We also run a debt management resolution centre. So if your money worries have escalated into serious complex debt, again, give us a call. We can help you through that. There is always a solution. Please just pick up the phone and talk to us about your issues. So dealing with debt, what are some of the causes? Well, you know, quite often people say to me it's because people don't know how to manage their money. And yeah, certainly there may be an element of that. But there are also these massive life shocks that we have to contend with where without any sort of fault of our own, we find ourselves in unfortunate financial situations. So, for example, redundancy, loss of hours if you're part of the gig economy or 0 hours contract, relationship breakdown, those unforeseen emergencies that you just never bargained for, chronic illness, bereavement. But they're not necessarily all bad things that happen to us. You may be planning for a wedding, might be the arrival of a new baby, and of course pandemics, the latest and most unwanted of all. So October 2021 saw a very dark, rainy day for our finances. We saw the end of COVID concessions regarding evictions, meaning more people are likely to face being evicted and being homeless. We saw the end of the furlough scheme, meaning that many of the subsidies that employers had to retain their staff are gone. We may see more redundancies. We saw the scrapping of the universal credit uplift of £20 a week, which is going to have a major impact on many households across the land. And of course, we've just recently had the hike in the energy cap, meaning that we are all paying more for our electricity, and in some cases considerably more. So if you imagine a household who paid £80 a month for their energy may have just lost £80 a month due to the universal credit uplift being rescinded. Meanwhile, their bills have gone up by £20 due to the energy price cap. So that family has barely gone from making ends meet to being in £100 worth of debt overnight. So debt can affect any of us at any time. But if you're thinking, well, do you know what? I think I handle my finances fairly well. I'm not in debt. I'm there or thereabouts. I'm above things. Wondering how many of you might have credit cards and how much damage you're actually doing today. So the average credit card debt per household in August 2021 was £2,033 per household, or a little over £1,000 per adult. So how long do you think it would take to pay off a credit card, the average credit card bill, if you made only the minimum payment each month?
3 years.
3 years? 4 or 5 years?
2 years.
2 years? Are you sitting? Well, you are sitting down, so that's just as well. Okay, it would take a staggering 24 years and 9 months to pay off the average credit card. You may well sigh, to pay off the average credit card debt if you made only the minimum payment. So the minimum payment in the first month would be £53, and that would reduce each month as you paid a little bit more. But even if you continue to pay that £53 every month, the debt still wouldn't be cleared for 5 years and 1 month. That's a significant burden to carry. Okay, now millions of people across the UK are now using buy now, pay later schemes such as Klarna, Lay-Buy, ClearPay, whether they're shopping online or in store. Now, used correctly, these can be a cheap way of accessing credit, but if something goes wrong, you face late fees and even marks on your credit file, which could affect your future borrowing for serious things like mortgages or financing cars and that sort of thing. So in some cases, these fees can actually dwarf the cost of the products that you've bought. So think carefully when you use these options. Would you actually have purchased that item if it wasn't on a buy now, pay later scheme? Do you actually need that item, and how urgently? So some early signs that you might be going into debt or having issues might be falling behind on your bills. Are you being regularly penalised by default charges or late fees? Making that minimum payment on your credit cards? Or using credit to get to payday? So using a loan to actually subsidise your day-to-day living, or using a loan, in fact, to pay off your credit cards. So there is a saying that you know that you're in trouble when there's more month left at the end of your money. And again, using credit to pay credit. But what are the consequences of debt? So the causal links between debt and mental health are well documented. So Christians Against Poverty survey in 2017 found that 73% of those people seeking debt help said that debt actually made them feel ill. 1 in 3 people who are in arrears go on to develop a mental health issue. And you're 4 to 6 times more likely to have a debt crisis if you have a mental health issue. It's a vicious, vicious circle. People in problem debt are more than 3 times as likely to attempt suicide as those who aren't. Over 420,000 people in problem debt consider taking their life in England alone each year. Each year. Just talk to somebody. Talk money. So, here we are in the midst of Let's Talk Money Week. What are some of the things that you can do to take control right now? So invest some time in doing a budget. Yes, it's not a sexy subject, it's quite boring, it's quite tedious, it can be laborious, but it's the strongest tool that you have at your disposal to take control of your expenditure and your finances. Talk to your creditors if you think you might miss a payment. Don't do the ostrich, don't bury your head in the sand. Again, talk to your creditors. They're very understanding. They would rather create some sort of payment plan or negotiate some sort of means for you to pay or take a payment holiday rather than not be paid at all. Be careful about borrowing. Please reconsider if you're thinking taking further loans to pay the debts that you're accumulating now. Again, it's a vicious circle. If you find all of this incredibly overwhelming, whether you're just not in a position to deal with this, your debts are so escalated that you're really concerned, then please, again, pick up the phone, call Advice for Renters Money. We've got a team of friendly advisors who will guide you all the way and hold your hand to make sure that you're not dealing with this alone. There are other debt agencies that are available as well. We have National Debt Line, Step Change, Pay Plan, Citizens Advice Bureau, to name but a few. These are primarily online or phone agencies, phone services. But Advice for Renters Money, we will guide you through all the way in person or by video or by whatever means suits you, is most favourable. So we've had a lot of talk about the debt crisis, but we're also in the midst of a savings crisis. 25% of the population have less than £100 savings. In London, that rises to 40% of people. So that's almost a staggering 3.6 million who have little or no financial resilience. Well, that doesn't make them immune from anything. 4 in 10 people in problem debt experience some sort of income shock, like a broken boiler or unexpected car repairs, at least every 6 months. So if you haven't had one, you're probably due one right now. 1 in 4 people have no idea how much they spend every week. So I just want you to just think for a moment. You don't worry, I won't pick on anybody, no audience participation, but how often do you think about money? Do you know how much is in your bank account right now? Oh, there's some squirming and some nervous smiles going on already. Do you have a budget? And if so, do you stick to it? How do you currently manage your money? Do you manage your money, or does your money manage you? So I alluded to that earlier, that the budget is the strongest tool that you can have to take control of your finances. And in your packs, again, we have a paper version that you can take away today. But I'd really, really encourage you to Google one of the budget planning tools that you'll find online. We've got an example here from our sponsors, Money Helper and Maps. If you struggle, as I do, with maths, it will take a lot of the pain and the agony out of it for you, and it will keep it as a live document as well. So the important thing about using a budget or budget planner is that it's not a fossil. You don't just do it once. You need to update that as you evolve and your changing habits spend, or as your life situations change as well. So if we look at just COVID alone, so last year, the average Briton spent an additional £771 just on impulse buys during lockdown. So a quarter of new dog owners during lockdown bought their pooch on a whim, doing less than 2 hours research online. Now, I feel particularly invested as a major contributor to this, but we spent a staggering £50 million on additional chocolate in 2020 than we did in 2019. Indeed, that's amazing, isn't it? And as I say, I think I am a significant factor in those figures. So during lockdown alone, we found that 36% of people became bigger spenders, and 64% of people were actually in a position to save a little bit more during lockdown. But again, we're emerging from lockdown now, we're re-assimilating back into our lives, we're beginning to be out and about, we're beginning to spend money. So this is the time to redo your budget. So another article by our friends over at Aviva showed that the average adult typically spends about £18.23 a week on invisible money. So those figures were for September 2015. So, it doesn't take a major leap to figure that that figure has escalated somewhat. But £18.23. But what do I mean by invisible money? Well, it's the sort of money cash money that you may have had in your purse or wallet that just slips through your fingers. So it's buying the coffee from Costa on the way to work, or picking up a bottle of mineral water, or buying the magazines or the snack bars, or perhaps buying yourself a Tesco's meal deal or such. It's just that money that just put it in your purse, you've got nothing to show for it at the end of the week, and it disappears. £18.23. So it mightn't sound like a lot, but it really does add up. So over a year, that total invisible spend can be as much as £947. That's just 1 year. So over a working lifetime, that could be almost £50,000 on money that just slips through your fingers with nothing to show. And that's before we factor in any potential inflationary increases. So where could that cash go? Well, 7 out of 10 adults who spend on these items, such as the chocolate bars and the cups of tea in the canteen or at Starbucks or wherever, so that they'd be willing to give up or cut back on that spending in order to save more. That research also showed that 26% of people don't keep track of their savings at all, and 22% only keep an eye on those bigger purchases. I see that's resonating with some of you. Okay, but what could you do with that cash? Almost £1,000 a year, right? Well, you can take an all-inclusive holiday for 2 to Spain. You could commute to work for over half a year if you get a zone card from zone 1 to 3. You could feed the average family for 3 months. You could buy a new smartphone and pay the bill, pay the line rental as well for a full year. And if a 20-year-old started investing that money annually today in perhaps a pension pot, that could generate in the region of £159,000 for their retirement. It's big figures, huh? Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm not suggesting that you cut back everything, but how can you make some significant savings? Or even little savings? Quite often people don't save because they think, I've got nothing significant to save. But you're all here today, I'm feeling very generous, I'm going to give you some money. I'm going to give you £75. So I just want you to think about what you might do with that today. And this gentleman looks like he's in the market for a new pair of trainers here. Yeah, we'll see what Santa brings you. But what if I said in 10 months' time you could actually have those items? Yeah. How much do you think you would have to save a day to save £75? Less than £5 per week? Sorry? A couple of pounds? Okay. Daily, you would have to save 25p to accumulate £75 in 10 months. For £150, that rises to 50p a day. And for £300, which is certainly by those trainers, £1 a day. So when you think we're spending about £18, £20, £22 a week on invisible money that slips through our fingers, you can see just by cutting back just the smallest amount, we can actually save consistently, and that can increase to quite significant numbers, yeah? And that might be one less Klarna payment that you're having to make, or a credit card bill that you might be defaulting on. But how do we start to tackle our budgets if they don't balance? Well, we could increase our incomes. It's not always the easiest thing to do if you're not in an industry that allows you to do that, by doing additional shifts perhaps, or getting a part-time job, an additional job. There is a fabulous site called moneymagpie.com, and just as Martin Lewis, my hero, is the money saving expert, a lady called Jasmine Birtles is responsible for this site. She's also a financial journalist, and it's a great site to pick up tips of how you can make savings, any schemes, any discounts that are going on, and anything that you can get involved with to actually put a little bit more money in your pocket. So that's moneymagpie.com. But what else can you do to balance your budget? Well, I'm going to give you the 3 golden C's. So you can cut costs, cut back, or cut out. But how do we do that? Okay, so we could cut costs. So we could look to switch providers. So USwitch is one site, but there are many, many more. And do also check that little box that says whole of market as well. So I mentioned him before, my friend Martin, and you'll know if you're avid watchers of his show on Thursdays that at the moment with this energy crisis, he's been given some very stern advice, and in terms of switching for your utilities, what should we do at the moment?
Do nothing.
Do nothing, that's correct. You all get a gold star and a free bottle of water on the way out. So indeed, we're at a situation at the moment where the cheapest deal on your utilities is going to be the standard variable rate. So if you're already on a fixed rate, a lower fixed rate at the moment, there's no point even searching for another one. You will not find anything cheaper. But unfortunately, it's all of those canny people that do switch their bills, switch their providers often. When those fixed rates finish, they're actually going to find the steepest increases in their bills. But just be reassured that while things were good, you actually made the greatest savings as well. But there are other things that you could look at, perhaps your broadband provider, perhaps your mobile phone. If anybody was watching Martin Lewis last night, you would have seen that he had a fabulous broadband deal, which was almost half of what people traditionally pay. So have a look at those things. There we go, Martin. So look for vouchers to save money on treats. So things like Groupon or voucher. I'm not telling you to go out and spend on these things, but if it's something that you were planning to do anyhow, make sure you get the best deal. So here's an electricity one. Turn your heating down by 1 degree and put on a jumper. Sounds simple, but it could save you as much as £90 a year. Oh, my favourite topic. At the supermarket, check the cost per weight of products and items. It's not necessarily the cheapest when you just look at the actual packet itself, and we'll show you why in a moment. And also think about trading down a brand. Now when we do workshops, I could do a whole 2 hours just talking to you about the psychology of supermarkets and how they're designed to make us spend money. In normal times, we would actually be offering you a taste test at the moment, but we're going to do that remotely and virtually. So if you imagine in front of you, you've got a lovely plate of chocolate digestives. Does everybody like chocolate digestives? No dissension. I see I'm going to have to fight for my lunch today. Okay, so we would have an anonymous plate of McVitie's chocolate digestives versus Asda chocolate digestives. And we'd ask people to taste them, and there's always that one person that just, I know exactly which one's the designer biscuits, as I like to call them. But it's not about that. It's not about that. Okay, so the price for McVitie's digestives is £1.35. It was the last time I did this slide anyhow, for 16 biscuits. Compared to Asda with a price of 44p for 18 biscuits. So again, check the price per weight. So that equates to 8.4p for the McVitie's biscuits versus 2.4p for the Asda digestives. Okay. So if you bought one packet per week, and these aren't the big packets, they're a packet that's about that size, probably last me like a good coffee break, but for most people that might last them a week. So if you bought one packet per week, that would equate to £70.20. If you bought a packet of the Asda biscuits, that would be £22.88. So that is a staggering difference of £47.32 that you could save just by switching a brand. And that's just one item. Imagine if you did that with similar price items in your shopping basket, maybe 10 items, that could be £500 or more that you could save just by making a very small difference there. Now, when we do the tomato ketchup taste test, the dissension that I have, there are people that are absolutely fanatic about their ketchups and they won't change at all. And that's okay. That's okay. If your palate is that discerning, that's absolutely fine. But there are going to be places and items that you can swap or change with very, very little difference. And if you've got those pesky kids that insist on having the brand name cereals, keep the box and just decant. So try shifting down a level. So if you shop the premium brands, Tesco's Finest, Asda Extra Special, Taste the Difference by Sainsbury's, move down to the branded items. So Heinz, Bird's Eye, Walkers, the traditional items that are advertised on TV. If that's what you purchase, typically, because that's what your mum purchased, and they didn't have the supermarket brands around when I was a little child, it was just the actual branded items. That was a long time ago, last century, it has to be said. Swap to the supermarket brands. So Tesco's, Asda, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Lidl, what have you. And if you shop those brands already, then try shifting down to the value brands. So Tesco Value, Asda Smart Price, Sainsbury's Basics. So I'm not saying that if you're currently buying the premium Tesco's Finest and you suddenly go to the value brand that you won't notice the difference. But do just try shifting down a brand. Again, it's those small financial incremental savings that actually escalate into something substantial and that could just provide you with a little bit of financial resilience for when that financial shock comes. So eye level is buy level, right? Have you ever been into a supermarket? They've always got the most expensive items straight ahead of you, so you don't have to bend. I'm an old lady, but trust me, ask me how low I can go, because that's where you're going to find the bargains. I'll have all of the value brands and the lower priced items on the lower part of the shelf, so go low. Okay, and if we're just looking at the hierarchy of supermarkets, we've got Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's there right at the top. Sainsbury's, Morrison, Asda and Tesco's, running them for not a close second, quite a distant second in many cases. We've got Iceland down there in our third division, and probably our cheapest and most value, cost-effective supermarkets, the likes of Lidl and Aldi, sort of over from the continent. So just by the by, sort of Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Asda, the traditional UK supermarkets tend to operate on a 7% margin compared to Lidl and Aldi, who operate on a 1% margin with a much, much smaller range as well, which means that they can keep their prices low. So if you don't have one close to you, sometimes it is actually worth paying the bus fare and jumping on the bus to get to a Lidl or an Aldi. Okay. And this just demonstrates very quickly the comparison of one supermarket basket at these various supermarkets. So we've got Aldi coming in at the cheapest. I must say, between Aldi and Lidl, they tend to fluctuate at about £66, £67. And for the very same basket right at the other end, those prices rise to £105. So watch where you shop. So cut back, that was our second C. Again, yes, but how? Okay, so we don't necessarily want to give up everything we love, but we can cut back a little bit. So I'm going to start with the most controversial one. Can you trade your car in for a cheaper model, or maybe walk or cycle for short journeys? Well, I'm not a walker, all of my team will tell you that. But, you know, I think lockdowns taught us that, you know, we may have that big car that we've bought on finance because we're keeping up with the Joneses, or we've convinced ourselves that that is exactly what we need. But in lockdown, we didn't really get to use it. And, you know, we're working, well, most of us are working 5 days a week now. Is it really worth it just to have a little run around at the weekend? So have a think about that. And of course, we want to be greener, don't we? We've still got COP going on. So, yay, for my COP green credentials, I'm going to walk home. So if you eat out every week, perhaps think about eating out twice a month instead, or maybe once a month, so it's a real treat. Okay, a takeaway for 2 could cost £18 a week, and again, if we multiply that by 52 weeks, that could be £936 a year. So again, we're looking at almost £1,000 on takeaways. If you only ate out or had a takeaway every other week, you could half that. You could actually save £468. So again, that's another £500 in your pocket. You know, and there are plenty of videos on YouTube now, and I have tried a few of them to create your own fakeaways. So give it a go. Why not? So if you buy lunch every day at about £3.50 or £3 for a value meal, and you think you're actually saving and you're doing well, again, if you did that every day, that's £910. Now, we all have that one bad day where we've got the hangover, or we've sort of like gone a little bit heavy the night before, and so you will probably want to buy lunch and save yourself Monday. But if you did that only one day a week, you could save £728 while you nurse that hangover. Okay? Now, most certainly the most controversial and argumentative area is cutting out. Yeah. When was the last time that you really made good use of that gym membership? So we're getting to that time of year where we're all going to be a little bit naughty. We're all carrying extra COVID pounds. I'm at least about 6 stones lighter normally at my fighting weight. Believe that, you'll believe anything. But typically, when people join a gym, they use it religiously and relentlessly for the first 3 weeks alone, and then they start to slip. But we never cancel that membership because we think, yeah, we're just going through a patch and like, we'll be back soon, and we've got our beach bodies to get ready for. So is there another way that you can exercise? You don't have to exercise in a gym. But when was the last time you really made use of that membership? And likewise, those many subscriptions that we have as well, whether it's a TV subscription, a magazine subscription, all of these things, do we really get value for money from them? Do we use them to their optimum? So I just want you to think when you go home or while you're doing your shopping about what areas of your budget can you cut out. But some of you in here, I'm sure, are on benefits, and you're probably thinking, well, that's all well and good, but I am on the bare bones of my finances already. So £2 billion went in unclaimed benefits in London last year. When we look at that figure nationally, it's actually £20 billion. So if you are on benefits or if you're on a low income, now is the time to actually find out and to make sure that you're claiming everything that you are entitled to. £20 billion in unclaimed benefits every year. So 2 in 5 pensioners in London that are eligible for pension credit aren't claiming it. And pension credit is such an important benefit as it's a gateway to other benefits as well. So for example, if you are entitled to the guaranteed element of pension credit, that means that you won't have to pay £153 for your TV licence, that you'll get a free TV licence. So often people don't know what they're entitled to. Often advisors don't know what they don't know either. So pick up the phone, come and see us at Advice for Renters Money. We can help you navigate the benefit system as well. If you're a very canny computer user, there are actually tools that are available online. Turn to Us and Entitled To have benefits calculators. So, you know, if you're feeling up to it, then get online and have a look. They're very intuitive. They're designed to be used by the public. So you can do that, or as I say, pick up the phone and we will help you to navigate the system. So I'm going to give you some quick fire damage limitation measures that people on benefits could be considering to help them mitigate the financial shock. So number 1, benefits review. Get that benefits review done, whether you do it yourself, whether you turn to an organisation such as us, Advice for Renters Money, or other. Make sure that you're receiving everything that you're entitled to. Are you entitled to discretionary housing payment from the council? Are you maximising any council tax reductions or discounts that you might be entitled to? Many councils have a grant called the Local Welfare Assistance Grant to aid people that are in financial crisis as well. We mentioned earlier utilities, the warm home discount, the water help, water shore. We've got energy switch on there. Should have taken that off of this slide, but there will come a day again when things are competitive and we can look at energy switching suppliers. Water shore and water help, we mentioned those there. So if you are a person that's compromised mental capacity or physical injury or chronic illness, you may be entitled to PIP, the Personal Independence Payment, which again will make you, it's a gateway to other benefits or to concessions with other benefits as well. Could you benefit from a zero budgeting advance loan or a interest-free budgeting loan from the DWP? And there's the the debt respite scheme, or breathing space as it's also known. So this is the tool at the disposal of debt advisors that can help you get some breathing space, some time while you actually start to sort out any debts that you have or any money worries that you have, some breathing space from your creditors. So I know what it's like to be in that situation where you have the fare, where you have a bag full of mail that you're too frightened to open, or you won't answer the telephone because you know you're in fear that it's going to be one of these people. And of course, what grants and schemes might you be entitled to as well? Believe it or not, there are a lot of grants out there to help people that are in financial crisis. So again, give us a call. So help. Okay, so I went through that at pretty high speed with very little explanation. But the one thing that I would encourage you to do is to contact us, is to talk about money. So whether that's talking about money with your partner or picking up the phone and talking to one of the debt management agencies, or just talking to a friend, please talk about money. Please don't be one of those statistics, one of those suicide statistics. There's always a resolution. So in your packs today, in your participant packs, we've popped in a little spending diary for you. Nobody knew you were going to get homework today, did you? Okay, so in that, it's just a little tool to sort of like monitor how much of that invisible money you're spending. So in there, you can just pop down the items that you buy daily, the price. Was it a want or a need? Did you actually need that item? Did you need that coffee? Well, you might have needed that coffee, but did it have to be the Costco one, the Costa one with the sprinkles and the cream, fully loaded and the extra shot? Or could you have waited until you got to work and had a free Nescafe? We've also got a space for you to write down, if you really want to get gold points, is to write down what your feelings were when you made that purchase. What influences you when you spend money? Are you one of those people that just spends and doesn't notice? Or are you one of those people that's like, I've had a bad day, I'm going to treat myself? So again, it's something that's personal to you, but your attitude, it's controlling you or whether you're controlling it. As I said earlier, you've got in your packs 55 wonderful energy saving tips that will help you to mitigate the energy price hike that we're all suffering at the moment. There's a paper budgeting booklet in there with lots of tips and advice and space for you to actually calculate your finances. But again, truly, I would recommend that you use one of the online tools. It takes a lot of pain out of it, and use it constantly. Make it part of your habit, whether you review it monthly, quarterly, once a year, but please make sure you review it every time there's a change to your finances or your situation. So, it's a lot of information that I've thrown at you today, but I hope what I've managed to impress upon you is that with very small changes, you can actually make quite significant incremental savings. But there's always an answer, there's always things that you can do to actually negate or mitigate the sort of financial crisis that we find ourselves in. So advice for renters, there are contact details. As I say, we have welfare rights advice, we have a debt management centre, energy advice, access to affordable credit via our partners, our credit unions, financial crisis support, financial workshops for both individuals and for community organisations. Yeah, I think that is everything I have to say today. So thank you ever so much, Debt Free London and MAPS and Money Helper for having us here. I'm going to sign out. Thank you.